Well, look at you, a general, huh?
I said this before and I'll say it again, Han should not be so warm to Lando. Last time they saw each other, Lando betrayed him. In the previous scene I mentioned, it made more sense that Han wouldn't be receptive to hearing about Lando. Here I can excuse it because maybe they mended fences while they were on the Falcon. Also, keep in mind this movie takes place a year after the previous movie, and Lando is already a general. Looks like in the Rebellion there is no working your way up. If you happen to be main character, you just get promoted to be one of the highest ranks in the military.
The Emperor's made a critical error and the time for our attack has come.
I am so used to the newer actress who plays Mon Mothma that I need to remind myself that she was a character in Return of the Jedi. Mon Mothma is low-key the pre-existing character that Disney has expanded upon the best. They've done a great job with her, especially in Andor.
Many Bothans died to bring us this information.
A lot of fans have stated they want to hear the story about how these rebel spies stole the plans to the second Death Star, kinda like a Rogue One sequel. But the reason this wouldn't be interesting is because Palpatine let this happen. Remember, this whole thing was a trap. So because of this, I doubt we'll ever see the story of these Bothans.
Our cruisers will create a perimeter while the fighters fly into the superstructure.
I get that this was all a trap and that the Empire let the rebels get these plans, but why would they let the rebels get their hands on the real way to destroy the Death Star? Couldn't they have given the rebels fake plans or something? This is the dumbest part about Palpatine's plan, to give the rebels the roadmap to destroying the Death Star yet again. During Han's conversation with Lando, Lando's outfit changes slightly. At first the badge and the strap are on the left shoulder, but in the next shot it's on the right shoulder.
Hey, you awake?
Yeah, I just got a funny feeling, like I'm not gonna see her again.
I love this foreshadowing that doesn't go anywhere, unless it was foreshadowing that Han would lose the Falcon for a few decades as we see in The Force Awakens. Also, it's crazy to think that in this movie we don't get a single shot of Han or Chewie on the Falcon. He's only on the Falcon off screen, and the other Falcon shots we do get are with Lando.
Yes, my master.
Fun fact, one of these dudes here is a major character in the books. His name is Yup Tashu, and if you read the Aftermath trilogy, you will learn how important he is.
Where is that shuttle going?
Shuttle to Dirian. What is your cargo and destination?
I find it funny that Vader decided to take interest in a random shuttle and then it happened to be the one with Luke. One could argue that Vader sensed Luke before and that's why he took interest, and you'd probably be right. But I always took this moment where Vader was silent for a bit as the moment he sensed Luke. Maybe he partially sensed Luke and here he needed to confirm it, I don't know. But regardless of this sensing nonsense, Vader should have recognized Han's voice over the comms. He knows what Han sounds like. You'd think that the Empire would require their shuttles to land at an Imperial base instead of the middle of the forest. Stuff like this would never fly in a real military. I have two comments here. Is it common that military personnel would patrol in the middle of the forest? As far as we are aware, the rebels aren't that close to the Imperial base, so why would they have stormtroopers randomly patrol the middle of the forest? Is this something that militaries commonly do? If this is something militaries commonly do, then I take the comment back. The second comment is how cliche it is that Han had to step on a tree branch. This is just how twisted my mind has become from online discourse, but if newer Star Wars movies dared to pull off this kind of gag, people would ridicule the director to death. Am I the only one who thinks that these speeder bikes look a lot smaller than they should be? Obviously, the speeder shots were shot in front of a blue screen, but when they were edited into the background, I got the vibe they got the scale off. Almost as if the people and the speeders are half the size that they should be. I mean, look at the size of some of these trees and bushes. I love that Lucas decided to have a shot of the stormtrooper just thumping against the tree and only that. I have so many nitpicks about this entire sequence. When Leia falls off here, she should have easily gotten seriously hurt. It's hard to say exactly how fast these speeders are going, but one could assume it's probably on the lower end of 30 to 40 miles per hour. Leia would easily get seriously injured by falling off. Imagine jumping out of your moving car at that speed. Some other nitpicks. Luke and Leia should not be able to see while driving these things. Going at those speeds, the amount their eyes would tear up would definitely blind them. That's why motorcyclists wear helmets. I mean, yeah, they wear helmets to protect their head, but also so they can see while they're driving. When we go back to the Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon said only a Jedi could survive a pod race because of the reflexes you would need. Honestly, driving a speeder at that speed through a forest sounds so much more difficult. Luke, Leia, and all these stormtroopers must have some of the most insane reflexes ever to safely drive through the forest. If you're wondering at all how these scenes were filmed, what they did was they walked through the forest backwards for like an hour, and then they play the footage in reverse and sped it up. Pretty smart idea if you ask me. Would chopping off the front of the speeder really result in the speeder spinning in a perfect spiral, still going perfectly straight until it hits something? I doubt it. What the fuck? How on earth did Luke manage to find his way back to the group? You know how far he must have gotten by piloting that speeder? Even if a few hours did pass between these scenes, how would he even know his way back? Does he have a tracker or something? Or was he able to perfectly trace himself back through the forest? That's seriously impressive. Oh, Ewoks, so cute.
Look, it's a hat.
Alright, Leia, that is not a hat. That is a helmet. There is a big difference between the two. Stormtroopers are so bad at shooting that their trained snipers cannot manage to hit a woman sitting perfectly still. Just embarrassing, man.
Freeze! Come on, get up.
Okay, so there was a sniper shooting at Leia. He shot at her twice. Then this other stormtrooper decides to flank her and tells her to freeze. Why the stormtroopers don't try to just kill Leia, I don't understand. You could argue they would take her in for interrogation, that makes sense, but then why have the sniper shoot at Leia in the first place? Just have this guy walk up behind Leia and have her freeze.
Go get your ride and take her back to base. Yes, sir.
If you look closely, this second shot of Leia that's more of a close-up is actually horizontally flipped from the first shot a few seconds ago. You can tell by the way Leia's hair is parted on both sides. Also, am I really supposed to believe that Leia hitting this stormtrooper in the arm with a log is enough to knock him out? Yeah, I don't buy it.
My son is with them.
Are you sure?
I don't know if this was intentional or not, but there's just something about hearing Vader say, "My son is with them," that shows me his inner conflict. In the previous movie, Palpatine and Vader referred to Luke as the son of Skywalker, and Vader has always had this disconnect between who he is now and who Anakin Skywalker was. Vader doesn't believe he is the same person anymore, something we saw brilliantly in the Obi-Wan show. So by having Vader refer to Luke as "my son" means he still identifies as Anakin in some way. Whether this was intentional or not, it was a great way to show how conflicted Vader is.
His compassion for you will be his undoing.
One part of this film I really struggle with is Luke's motivation for trying to save his father. When Luke talks to Obi-Wan about Vader, we hear Obi-Wan talk about Anakin, and that leads to Luke thinking that there must still be good in him. Luke has no reason to believe that Vader has good in him. The only reason he does is because Vader is his father. If Vader wasn't Luke's father, then Luke would have no reason to believe there was good in Vader. I maybe would have liked a slight reframing of Luke's approach. Instead of Luke being so certain that Vader has good in him, maybe Luke isn't certain at all. Maybe he'll say something along the lines of, "I don't know if there's good in Vader, but he is my father and I need to try." It's a really small change, but I think it would make Luke's arc just a tad bit better. Because instead of magically knowing Vader has good in him, he doesn't know, but because of his unconditional compassion, he needs to try. I just went on a big tangent there that had nothing to do with the actual scene that was just playing. The reason I wanted to comment that here is because Palpatine somehow knows that Luke will try and turn Vader good. What does Palpatine know about Luke? How does he know Luke is filled with compassion? I guess this is consistent with the prequels, where Palpatine can magically see the future. I hate that about Palpatine.
It's just a dead animal, Chewie.
You know, given what we know about the Ewoks, I find it hard to believe they would waste a perfectly good corpse on a trap like this. Earlier when we met Wicket, the way Leia won over his trust was by giving him food. That's how you win over the trust of any animal, really. So seeing Ewoks here set a trap with food to get more food doesn't seem like something Wicket would do at the least. You can actually see an Ewok here on the right the second Han and Luke land. This one did a terrible job hiding. For those of you who didn't realize, the name Ewok is actually never said in the film. So how did these teddy bears get the name Ewok? Well, originally this film wasn't going to have Ewoks. It was going to have a bunch of Wookiees. Ewok is actually wordplay on Wookiee. Wookiee, Ewok. But what I'm far more interested in is why Lucas wanted to replace Wookiees with Ewoks. There are a lot of theories. One is that making a bunch of Wookiee costumes would be too expensive, so Lucas settled on a small version in Ewoks. Another theory is that Lucas wanted to sell a bunch of toys with this movie, and even though we love Chewbacca, Ewoks are just cuter than Wookiees. Another theory is that Lucas really wanted to play into the David vs. Goliath story, and by having teddy bears beat the Empire, that would be the most effective way to portray that message. This would also tie into the Vietnam War, having the inferior force win the battle against the more technologically advanced force. You can subscribe to any one of these theories. I think they're all somewhat true.
I could be mistaken. They're using a very primitive dialect, but I do believe they think I am some sort of god.
This gag of the Ewoks thinking 3PO is some sort of god is one of my favorite gags in this movie. 3PO gets crapped on in this movie because of how bumbling he is, so seeing him get some love for once is something I really loved seeing. Also, seeing Han have to ask 3PO for favors is great. I have a hard time believing that the Ewoks would be able to tie up Luke and Han. You could argue that Luke would probably tell Han to let the Ewoks tie them up, but why? They're in the middle of a mission and they're trying to find Leia. They don't know that Leia is with the Ewoks, so either these teddy bears actually were able to tie up Luke and Han, or Luke let them tie them up and are thus wasting valuable time. Where did Leia get this dress? Did the Ewoks make it for her? Did they just have it laying around? If they did just have it laying around, why? Why have a human dress?
But Master Luke, what magic? I couldn't possibly. Just tell me.
Doesn't this still count as impersonating a deity? He couldn't tell the Ewoks to leave them alone, but he can tell them that he will strike them down with magic if they don't listen to him? That doesn't seem consistent. If you actually look closely at R2, you will see that he is casually standing around no problem, but a few shots later, he is tied up on an upright gurney. Click on the link here to watch Overanalyzing Star Wars Return of the Jedi Part 4. If you don't see the link, the video hasn't come out yet. Thank you everyone so much for watching another one of my videos. Don't forget to like the Claude Squad, and I will see you guys next time.